Welcome back, everybody, to the Purified podcast. My name is Luis Palacios. Joining me once again, as always, is my co-host Chris. How's it going, Chris?
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
A little sleepy.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you may be wondering, why are we doing a podcast tonight? Like today or Wednesday? Usually, it's not our usual time to do things. Now, first and foremost, this is a bonus episode. Mostly because there is something that's been concerning us as Pokemon Go players, a community, as people that want to, have people listen to us and things like that. It's there's been a lot of things that needs to be addressed, and we want to actually get this in as soon as possible, because by the time we actually record a regular podcast, it might actually already be dying down and things like that. But that's why we wanted to do it today. There's been a lot in our minds, and I know there's been a lot of announcements for the game. There's more to come, of course, but today is only different because of those reasons. And we want to talk mostly about the changes, our opinions, and then reflect on some of the things that the community unfortunately has done, because it's just been like Ken says, a shithole today, this last week. So
Dumpster fire, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely want to address that this is not a regular podcast. This is not going to be the joyous things, shiny hunting or things like that we usually do. And I don't even have the game on because right now I want to be a little more serious when it comes to this kind of episode. So that's why we are in different ways, just trying to be more perspective of what's going on. And even if we may rant a little bit more than we used to, but at the same time, we want to actually express that this is our opinions and our opinions only. Chris actually reminds me that we are not paid by Niantic to say any of this. We are trying to do this on our own terms, because we are actually just like everybody else. We play the game just like everybody. We are concerned about the next update, the next shiny, the next things. We just want to be sure that you guys listen to us as like we are part of this community too. So that's why we are here. So I may not have a lot of time for Chris to talk right now, but I definitely have his opinions and a few things in there for sure. So but when it comes down to it, today's bonus episode will be shared to the podcast feeds, any of the podcast feeds as soon as possible, so anybody can share it. And of course, if you love to share this episode with anybody, or you want to actually voice your opinion or discuss with us, you're more than welcome to enter anything in the chat, or even email us at thepurifiedpodcast@gmail.com, because we are understandable that the community it's not in the best of minds right now, and that's what we're here to address. Anything else to add there, Chris?
Nah, I think that was a really good opening.
Thank you. All right, so to start off, we're definitely going to first address the concerning issue of what's going on with the community. But first and foremost, we're going to actually talk about what is really firing up the community as much today. And that is, of course, the latest updates and the latest news that Pokemon Go's spread out. And we're going to go over it real quick. And we're not probably going to go through the entire blog post, because the most important parts are almost at the end. So it is a pretty big blog post. So that's why we're not going to cover it. We may cover it more during our regular episode, and we're not going to cover any other news. We know there's a lot of news that has also been dropped in the last few days, but we're not going to cover those right now. This is more about about this situation, and this, of course, this bonus episode right here. So first and foremost, we have on June 21st, Pokemon Go tweeted out that exploration bonuses updates are coming to Pokemon Go. To summarize the very first part of it, some of the things that they have implemented because of the pandemic, they're going to be changing from here on out. We understand that the game has been on bonuses or special bonuses or even temporary bonuses, keyword temporary, that implemented to make sure that we can still enjoy the game even if we couldn't go out and do all the normal things that we usually would do, like, raid in person, go out and hunt as a community, things like that, that Niantic actually implemented to make sure that we are still playing the game as much as possible. some of the things that they are explaining here and summarizing, new exploration bonuses. Those are the bonuses that are going to be going live later in the next several months to make sure that gives you an extra incentive to go out and play, to actually go out and play, not sit at home or raid all day or anything like that. They're going to be changing and removing some of the bonuses that were introduced last year. And then there are also going to be bonuses that are planning to keep on keeping it throughout the next few months, or maybe in the future of the game. So some of the things that I want to actually point out, of course, the extra bonuses are pretty good. We can receive up to 3 free remote raid passes by spinning the gyms and everything. That's pretty cool. So that's 3 free remote free raid passes. I'm sorry, not remote. Free raid passes.
It should be 2.
No, it's gonna be. Oh, it says 2.
Or you mean the one from the? Do you mean the one from the weekly? It should be 2.
That says 2. I'm sorry.
Day, I mean.
Yeah, 2 free raid passes for student Pokéstop. So that means you can stack up to 3 if you do it correctly. So it's not really that much of incentive, but it's still something that a lot of free-to-play players are actually happy. They can do a little bit more raiding because now they're gonna go out and do the raids that they want to, at least 2 at a time, or even other persons who never really do raids out there anymore. They have more incentive to do more and things like that. So it's a welcoming addition for sure. There's going to be benefits for increased incest effectiveness while moving. We'll of course discuss this more on the ones that are changing. The guaranteed gifts when spinning Pokéstop so long as not reached the maximum gift inventory. So that means that you're still going to receive as many gifts as you can. And then, receive 10 times bonus experience from spinning Pokéstones for the first time. So a lot of cool new changes. Mostly good bonuses that incentivize us to go out. I really don't have any complaints about this because this is just adding to the grind that we all love to do. And what do you think about this, Chris?
I have something to say about that first one, but I'm going to wait till after we talk about what they're taking away.
Okay.
I do think these are very good changes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very smart of them to try and find a way to get people, playing out and about again.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a little soon in my eyes, but I do appreciate them wanting to do that,
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know that, if you Chris, you can always stop me at some point and actually wanted to say something, just let me know. There's no worries to, if you want to add something to anything about these bonuses or any opinions about this or anything that we discuss, just go ahead, don't worry about just me ranting on the entire time. So, but yeah, so it says that the bonuses will end when the season of discovery wraps up on September 1st. Some of the bonuses may stay rolling into the following seasons, and new bonuses will become available as well. So we still have somewhat of the next few months like this, and some new ones coming up while they're testing some of the bonuses in the later futures, of course. But now we're gonna go into the nitty gritty of this. This is actually what's changing or being removed of what they're saying they're going to be trying to change in the game right now, or at least from the bonuses out here. So over the past year, incest effectiveness was increased to attract Pokemon more frequently, even if you weren't able to leave home. After the change, this effect will set at the standard level when you're stationary, and increased effectiveness will kick in when you're moving. Now, before we go into the next one, what do you think about this one, Chris? Do you think that this is a good change, a bad change? What are your thoughts?
I feel like 90% of the people that are going to be mad about this are going to be the people that sit at home doing remote raids.
Right. And now
I don't think it's a complaint for people that go out and about the parks.
That's for sure. Now, there is also some changes. I mean, if you think about it, the old effectiveness of incest before the pandemic started, it wasn't the greatest in the world either. Like, you would use one, especially on community days or things like that, just to get that extra spawn whenever you actually walking or things like that. However, they weren't like the greatest. Like, the speed limit to be able to actually go out and get the Pokemon to spawn every of the effectiveness of the incest wasn't as fast when you're walking or running or even biking at that point. So it's not the best of changes. However, we understand why they're doing it, because that means that we need to go out and actually play the game a little bit more when it comes down to that. The incest increasiness It was nice, but sometimes I even feel like I was always running out of Pokeballs every time because I put one down and I feel like all my Pokeballs are gone. Pokeballs are gone by the time I get to it, you know?
We'd miss a lot of the incense spawns, honestly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd rather have too many to click on than,
Almost nothing at
just
all.
be sitting there staring at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I see why people are angry, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like this to begin with. It
Right.
was going to change back.
Yeah, and again,
It's going to be a common thing here.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to be a common thing. But yeah, it's understandable when it comes to that. This is a reasonable one because this is again something that we already were part of it. Now, for the newer player, maybe not because maybe they picked up the game when the pandemic started and all these bonuses were implemented at the time. But maybe that is a little more understandable. But again, it's nothing that to cough up even if you were disabled at that point. And not to say anything about disabled people, I understand sometimes you can't get out of the house, but there are some ways that you can still play the game even if you were at home at that point. You know. So the next one that we're gonna be moving on. Previously, your body Pokemon brought you more gifts each day, up to 5 gifts at once, and up to 3 times a day. This was because we knew trainers were loading on supplies like Pokeballs and berries to help them catch on Pokemons. As we move to encourage trainers to play more outside more, they can continue to receive supplies from spinning Pokestops. After the change, the frequency of these gifts of the body will be reduced. Again, the body doesn't really changes that much. It didn't give us much of an incentive to say that we need to open gifts and send gifts all the time. I always see it like an extra berry or an extra potion whenever I do needed it. But in the end of the day, I never really had to rely on my body for anything when it comes down to that. Have you actually had anything like that before, Chris?
Nah, it's like a little something extra,
Yeah.
I do think a lot of the hardcore grinders are gonna get affected by this one, because they're trying to send out all the gifts they can, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
But the hardcore grinders
they're gonna
are
be spinning steps.
right,
Yeah.
so they're going to be in the stops. It's more probably for the casual player at that point, or maybe the rural player, because they're not going to be able to restock as much as possible unless they really go out and play.
That's a good point. The people that don't have a lot of Pokestops, I guess.
Right, and we can, like I said, we can see the difference between the two. Like I myself, I'm in a rural area. Unless I really go out, the only reason I got Pokestops is because of the wafer system, and people play around me. I never really submitted anything, and they still appear around me. So it really depends on where you are and things like that. But at the same time, it's not like I'm heavily populated area or in a city where I can just spin stops all day and be able to restock. I really do go out and restock and do down things just because of the reason that I still want to play the game. So if I can, I'm sure a lot of people can, and if you can't, well, there may be other ways to do it if you plan it right. So. All right, so this one, the next one, is probably the one that actually put the community at a fire. So, previously, Pokestops and gyms interaction distance were increased to enable people to engage from farther away. After this change, the distance will be reverted back to standard distance then when it makes sense in different places, though it may increase during future events and part of certain features. So
this is the one I want to talk a little bit about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
When they were talking about the 2 free raid passes.
Right.
People were saying, "But why does it matter if the distance is shortened?" I'm like, we've raided before. We didn't always have the extended distance, I get that COVID was a thing, and I really did appreciate that they were making an effort to try and keep people, give people the opportunity to spread apart. A lot of us raid from our car. We park somewhere, we raid, no trouble. And now, since a lot more people are going out and getting things done after getting their shots and learning social distancing a lot better, I think there shouldn't be any trouble. There shouldn't be any trouble getting under that Pokestop. I honestly don't understand why so many people are so flustered about this. If you guys want to give up your opinion on it, by all means.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just having a really hard time wrapping my head around it.
Right, and that's understandable, and I can understand your side of this, Chris. Now, I want to say, because I've been reading a lot about this and how the community has been reacting, even throughout all of the content creators out there, they've been voicing their opinion, especially about this specific topic. And I can see both sides because I lived and played this game for the same amount of time that everybody has played, like 5 years in. We have gone through glitches, we have gone through bugs, we have gone through crashes, we have gone through all of the things that this game really had to offer, and nothing to offer at the beginning either. If you go back to 2017, I cannot express enough how many people would actually park on the side of the street or at the side of the door, or even on another parking spot just to walk over to the stop itself. It's not that hard to do what you're doing. Now, I can understand probably when it comes to private properties or anything like that, that's a complete different story. Don't break the rules when it comes down to that. We're not encouraging to say, just because a rare Pokemon or rare gym, or even a rare or the only gym that you have in your area, it's right in the center of Area 51 or something like that. So don't do anything like that, and we don't encourage to go out and break the law just because of a Pokemon. Don't ever do that. If there's always other ways to do things. Now, that's one way of looking at it, and we can understand that yes, we have had this before, where we need to be in the exact place to actually do what we need to do, especially for the race, for the spins, for extra research, for the Pokeballs or anything like that. Now let's talk about how it is on the other side of the coin. It has been a wonderful bonus. No doubt there it hasn't been anybody complain about this bonus. This was a godsend for a lot of people. Even for myself, I work at a place where I don't really have the chance to spin that many Pokestops, but because of the increased effectiveness of this, I've been able to get a little extra additions to my bags just because I'm right next or across the street from a gym, and I just drift a little bit, and that's more than enough. That's not, I don't need to do that anymore. So, but I know that once this reverts back, I will not be able to do the same. Even if my game really does drift me to the ends of the world to just get to one gym, it's not gonna get me the same. And I can understand that. I can see that. And I actually had it before. Now, when I started this job, I knew that my time or my restock time was gonna have to increase just because I needed more Pokeballs and things like that. It was just affected more because of this change. So it was welcoming. And I can understand people actually getting angry about this because it's not a bad bonus, and it's not something that we really need to change because it affects everybody and it's helpful for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. It does affect everybody, and you're playing. A lot of people are saying it's a lot more safer because you are actually away from the place of where the gym would be or the stop would be. Yes, just like Rick has mentioned, usually we're just in our cars whenever we do things. It really depends on where you are, and really depends on how you're doing the things that you're doing. Like I said, I can see both sides of the coin when it comes to this, and as much as I wish they would just keep it, and maybe they will keep it after all this, but maybe not. It's not going to affect me if we don't keep it. Because, or at least it's not going to affect me. I know it's going to affect a lot of people, but it's not going to affect me or a significant amount of grinders out there. It's not going to affect anything if they're just keeping it at this normal standard distance when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I'd like to say a little bit about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the main thing that's going to annoy a lot of people is it means they got to put more time into the game.
Right.
We're already putting a lot of time. I'm sure a lot of us are putting a lot of time into the game right now. The only people that are really getting items are, people with Pokemon Go Pluses and watches. If you're having to sit there spinning a stop, instead of spinning maybe 3 stops at a time, because you're kind of unlucky now that you're not able to spin from the middle of 3 stops that are just a little too far apart now.
Yeah.
I get that's annoying. It's definitely disheartening. I do feel like a lot of the people saying that it's safer to be farther away from places to spin. A lot of the Pokestops and gyms are supposed to be at a spot that it would, be safe.
True.
They don't like making gyms at places that people aren't allowed to be at. That's why they have a lot of the warnings.
That's true.
So I'm very as much as I agree that it's definitely good to stay away from those places, at the same time, there almost shouldn't be a gym there to begin with. It'd honestly just make more sense for someone to be like, hey, there really shouldn't be a gym here. Let's get rid of it.
And I can agree.
But,
I can definitely agree on that.
but yeah.
It's only safer when you know it's going to be safe for you to use it, to use that type of effectiveness on it. So, but just like he says, if the gym or the place or the stop is not safe to go to, and even if you were safe to go to just because of the distance, then there shouldn't even be one there anyways. So, in the end of the day, it's just one of those things. But yeah, we'll definitely be discussing this a little bit more into the podcast, into this episode, because this is actually what's actually like breaking the community at this point. We're just gonna definitely be talking about a little bit more of what the changes are, and before we actually voice our opinions, because there's still more that we want to say when it comes to this, of course. One thing to note, that they did mention things about remote raids becoming an important part of their game in the past year. We're going to continue evolving them. Their intention is to find the right balance between remote play and in-person play. They haven't said anything about removing the extra bonus of people doing remotely or anything like that. We don't know their plans yet. We have no idea what they are. We know that they're trying to do something that's fair for everybody. And even if it doesn't make them a lot of money, because I know people are already saying that, I know that they're going to try to do as much as possible. They also mentioned this, many of these in-person race changes will be prepared for the eventual return of EX raids. So that's something to note. EX raids, they're still in their bubble of work, so don't count them out yet, even though we have been talking about something like that before. So. But then there are some of the things that are going to be staying, and this is really, really notable to understand. So the insight duration will still remain at 60 minutes, even if the effectiveness is going to be reduced. No walking requirements will go Battle League. I know that this has been stated for anything, and since before, they always say that this is actually something they're probably going to keep, just because of how big the community of the Go Battle League is. You can still challenge any trainers remotely with the QR codes, and the requirement for battle friends remotely has been lowered to good friends. That's good still, because a lot of people do Stealth Arena. We keep it at that, that's fine. The maximum number of gifts you can carry in your item will remain at 20, so that's good. That means that we don't actually have to suffer with 10 most of the time. Trainers will be able to open up 30 gifts per day up to the previous 20, so that's even better. They actually increasing this kind of effectiveness on it. I love opening gifts, but sometimes I get too many gifts, and then sometimes I can't even open enough. So, and then you will continue to receive 3 times the Stardust and experience for your first Pokemon Cash and spin of the day. So that's pretty good. That's still nice for a lot of the grinders out there. And of course, they will be talking about more about how they're committed to being a clean, how and why Pokemon Go will evolve in the future. So. Again, these are most of the changes, one of the things. Again, this could change in the coming months. They're still testing some things out. If you go into the game today's view right now, you can see that the special bonuses has been extended until the end of the season, which is around 40 more days or 30 plus more days or something like that. So we definitely will touch and talk more about this as it comes along. So now let me go back to this real quick. All right, so we talked about the catalyst of what's going on and the changes. And again, keep in mind what we said, that the whole gym distance and this Pokestop just distance is something going about it. So now we would like to address the behavior of the Pokemon Go community as a whole, not because of the update, but because of recent events that have come to be sickening to the community. And if we go on Twitter, if you actually go and scour to Twitter, even in the last few days, Niantic has been trending on Twitter a lot because of this. If we actually even put Niantic, there's just more and more hate out there from things. Now, some of them are constructive feedback from a lot of the players out there that we follow, but some of them, they're just really, really, really toxic. Toxic is the right word that I'm looking for, I guess. Because they're like screaming at Niantic saying, you don't understand what's going on. You don't look at the player base. You don't look at what things are doing. It's all about the money for them or things like that. They're all been saying things like that in there. And people think that just because their game is on fire, that they don't care about the community. And that's why they're working on this. Now, let me point this out. Before this announcement was live, before this announcement actually went and, the whole world went bananas over it, we know that the game has been broken for the last few days. We understand that there's white flashes in the game, the raid glitch for the items is glitch. A lot of things, actually, if you think about it, there has been fixed, but again, it's not a matter of how it was fixed, about how it wasn't at the time of before. So people were already heated with Niantic because people were already saying, I'm going to quit the game. This game is unplayable. Nothing's working right. GPL is like all over the place with glitches and lag issues and things like that. So the community was already like preheated at this point. And then, of course, you give them this news right here. And we're like, what the hell? Like, why would you do this? Why would you do not address the issues that we're telling you about when the game is already broken as it is? Now you're telling us all about this on top of everything that's going on. So it was kind of like the preheat literally just ignited because everybody was already like heated over all this. Like, it's not the best metaphor when it comes about it, but it's just like a fire lit up and everybody just literally went on and on and on about what's going on. Now, you do have to understand that Niantic has a specific time when they're going to be posting things like this. So maybe they didn't know that the game was going to be as broken as it was before this announcement was made. But they already scheduled their tweet to go out and scheduled their blog post to go out at the time of everything. And that's why they're trying to make some changes. Lo and behold, if you actually update the game right now, you should be actually doing fine when it comes to encounters. There's still a lot of the glitches out there, but at least the game is a little more playable than what it should be. At least they know that they're listening. But the other problem that we have right now is that they're not communicating enough. And that's where a lot of people are also saying, why are you not listening to us? Therefore, the only way for a lot of the people to voice their opinions and concerns is to go to the internet. Twitter, Reddit, any other places they usually would do. However, though, they has just been such a toxic way of doing things that, or not from Niantic, but for the community itself. The way that they're actually talking, it feels like they just don't want to care about this game anymore. And trust me to say that I'm not mad at Niantic. I'm more mad about how the community's handled this. Because of how they're treating other people. And they're saying that some of them are saying that the content creators are just like stuck-ups and think that, they're never listening to anything says, or they're just getting paid by Niantic on all this stuff. We're not paid by Niantic. Nobody's paid by Niantic. Nobody makes money out of Niantic. Trust me on that one.
A few people, but even the people that do, they still voice their opinions on it. Very truthfully, honestly, from what I've heard.
Some of them are partnered with them, some of them are not. And some of them are just there at the expense of the game. So when it comes down to that, that's not really the biggest part of it. The biggest part is actually harassing those people because they think that we don't voice our opinion or we don't give the Niantic the feedback we're supposed to. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to that, not lastly, but truly, there's actually somebody out there that does listen to this. Listen to everybody out there, and that's Liz George, like the community manager for Niantic. Now, I have known Liz, not personally, but we have known her in the Twitter sphere, in the universe, in the whole Pokemon community since, she started that job there. Because she's been out and always saying that it's always better for the community. She wants to make the community better. She is listening. However, she does have her own, personal life when it comes down to it, and she has her own Twitter account that she specifically says This is not a Niantic account. If you want to talk to Niantic or actually, have your feedback, go to those specific pages or specific Niantic handles to be able to talk about them. She specifically says that the only reason why she's on Twitter is mostly because she wants to listen more outside of the eyes of Niantic. Now, maybe she hasn't said that in specific, but I know for a fact that that's what she wants to do. However, though, some people don't see it that way. And they've been asking and harassing her and just sending her as so many things that it's unbelievable that people will actually be this toxic to one person just because she works for the company that they're playing the game for. And honestly, that's where I'm more really pissed about. And to say the least, I'm concussed at this point because it's just concerning in that regard. It has gotten to the point where she actually had to take down her Twitter account completely because she needed to take time away from this community. And she's the community manager, guys. She listens to the community. She wants to make sure the game is better. But because of the harassment, the toxicity, I don't even know what else has gone about it to get to this point. To have her completely delete her Twitter account and not have to do anything with us anymore, we're not doing something right here. And that's...
Yeah, I want to add to personal account.
Correct.
Her personal account, not work account, personal account.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just harassing her on there. Are you kidding me? It's possible to keep your problems away from people when they're not at work. It is possible. I don't know. You wouldn't want to get harassed about problems when you're not on the job. I doubt she would.
Definitely. And even if she understood that being on Twitter as the community manager or even in her personal profile like that, she understands, that people will always voice what's going on with the game. Because, that's how the world sees it. They don't think they understand there's a feedback option for Niantic or for Pokemon Go out there, but they always go to Liz because she is the only one that she actually speaks her voice out there in the internet. So, and even so, she shares more about dogs and things like that because she's a lovely person to be around with. Like I said, I don't know her personally. I wish I knew her personally, but I know a lot of the friends out here and a lot of the people that I communicate throughout the community, Pokemon Go wise, even Lurab, Ken, Adam, and all the other YouTubers out there. They know Liz personally, and they know how sweet she is when it comes down to it. They know how hard she does her work, and we know that she is doing things for the community, specifically for the community. But again, because of the last announcement, and again, and all the harassment that they're going to, she had to go away. And we can't push people away in that reason, because she was like our only main source of I'm trying to look for the right word. I'm trying to remember the right word.
Positivity.
Thank you. Positivity in the community, because we know that she says the right things when we need to say it, and she doesn't say anything more than she doesn't need to aside from work. It's not about that. But a sweet person like her doesn't deserve that type of toxicity in her life. And I can understand why she needed to leave Twitter. I hope she returns. I really do hope she returns. And if anybody out there does want to send the love, there is a hashtag that says love for Liz. Definitely check that out. If you want to send a heartwarming Twitter or anything out there, I know a lot of people are actually doing that right now. A lot of the content creators are doing that right now. And even Reversal. My goodness, Reversal went ham on that time. It's just so bad. Now, we don't support this kind of behavior by anybody. Like, if you are really... We are sickened by all of this abuse that players are doing. Not just on Liz itself, but everybody in the community. How they're treating everybody just because of one announcement and one thing. There will be constructive feedback. We know that. But the constructive feedback is like almost nothing compared to the abuse of everybody out there. And we do not support this kind of behavior. We do not support any.
Don't grab your pitchforks,
Yeah. I mean,
don't rush after one person.
Right.
She's not the CEO. Like, don't go after John Hankey, but she's not the one deciding every single thing that happens. There are teams of people that work together. There are mistakes that happen. A lot of mistakes happen in an app, especially a big app like this that everybody wants to play.
And it's live 24/7,
It's
guys.
never going to be perfect.
The game is live 24/7. It's not like they can't change everything at the same time. They can't revert everything at the same time. There are rules, there are conditions. Specifically, when the updates go live, some of them go out to Android phones first, some of them go to iPhone phones first, and that's because of the type of approval that they have if they want to make sure that the game runs smoothly. There are a service size and there are update size on this game, and sometimes both of them can coexist in the same space because some things have to go in first before the next update goes out. And that's why you will see glitches because maybe the game is not optimized to get to this point yet until the next update. And that's why they're doing this. That's why they're testing things out. They have done the time where they actually reverted the update back before they actually go out again because they know the issue itself. I know this wasn't the case this time around. But again, this was only about the broken part of the game, not about the update. When it comes to the update, that's what the negativity came through. And that's what everybody's going through. Everybody's been toxic about it. So again, we do not support this kind of behavior by anybody. If you really want to be this kind of people to push away our only hope and safety of the game by even pushing away lists out there, we do not want to be this kind of community. We cannot be this kind of community. And I urge anybody or anyone to consider your actions when it comes to playing this game and how you handle other people playing this game. We understand the changes and how it can be affected everybody negatively or positively, we don't know. But we cannot stand or even support this type of toxic behavior we have displayed in the last couple of days. We just cannot be this kind of community. I do not want to be part of this community. We do not want to go down this road to say that we need to voice like babies or like crying children about, oh my goodness, the game is broken. Please fix this as much as possible. While you're doing this, I'm going to be doing something now. I'm like, if you're going to be this type of person, then I'm sorry, I don't want to see you in game or outside of the game, or even if you want to play the game, because at this point you can just go ahead and quit the game right here and now. There's no other option for you. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the hard truth if you're gonna be this way. And I have loved this community for the last 4 or 5 years. There's nothing that shows that we have to be this type of people. Nothing. And really, that's all there is to that. But I know that a lot of people are not going to be listening to this. At the same time, I wish that if you can, share as much as possible. But at the same time, if you don't want to listen to this, and just because you have the opinion that says that this game has to be the way that you want it to be, then I'm glad that you're not listening to this then. That's all. That's really there is to it, Chris.
I think with how much people have been voicing their concerns, it just shows how passionate about the game we all are.
Yes.
At the same time, I think people are going about it completely the wrong way. I mean, we keep saying just the fact that they all voice their anger at like one of the people that are really trying to work for us and make the game as good as it can be for us is just really disheartening. Really disheartening. I hate to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, hopefully in the future this doesn't happen. I hope she comes back. I hope she is able to be safe from having a ton of people voicing their concerns at her rather than Niantic support. Most likely because they don't want to get the answers from Niantic support, but that's kind of the answer you're going to get from her either way.
Yeah. And again, we can always, and just like you said, I mean, I would love to see her back and I hope she comes back. That's not a problem. I will advocate the, hashtag love for Liz as much as I can anywhere in the internet out there. But again, but now there is the concern of like, I understand that this is not a behavior we want to promote or anything like that. What we want is constructive feedback. Now, we understand we can be angry at a game or angry at the decisions and some of the things that the company will do at the game, because everybody loves this game so much. It's part of our lives now. We're not. By the time this game ever goes down, or it ever shuts down, we're gonna definitely be sad, because it's been had such a huge impact and changes to our lives. But to be able to be a better community, I want to express so much to always give the constructive feedback as much as possible, because if you're just going to raise your voice at something and bring on the pitchfork for no reason at all and say, fix this, do this for me, you gotta do this right now. I don't want to cuss, because trust me, that's not the only words that I've seen on Twitter these days. But when it comes down to it, it's not how you send that feedback to Niantic. It's how you were willing to give the benefit of the doubt to see both sides of the update or the changes or anything like that. If you actually break it down, there are good changes coming. And this change is more, and I see it this way, this change is more to go out and be normal again, to go out and see people again, to go out and actually play as the community that we are. This community is amazing, I can tell you that much, but we can be such crybabies when it comes down to the things that we cannot handle. It will eventually change. Things always change, and this game is changing just to make sure we always keep ourselves at the tip of toes of this game, because there's always changes, new shinies, or new things that are always going to be implemented. And now we understand that some of those changes can be hurtful or good for the game. Things like the mega raids, maybe it wasn't the best idea, or things like, just regular raiding. It's just how we see it and how we play it. It's different on how they're going to see us. We are going to have disagreements all the time. There's always going to be something changing. There's always going to be something about an event that we don't like. There's always going to be something about a feature that is going to be different. But again, it's not about how they presented it to us, it's how we react to it. And that's really, 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 really what I want to give out to them, to anybody who's listening, that if you have those opinions, if you have that feedback, voice it out, but do it constructively. That doesn't involve one person or one full content. If you actually put on the facts, people will listen. Maybe not at the same time. Maybe you don't have a big following. We understand that. But again, if you are going to be wanting to say something, don't voice it out to just one person, and not in a toxic way, no matter how much you look at it. It's not how we want to see those people out there like that. We don't want to make them cry. We want to make sure that they understand why we're disagreeing with the changes out there. So, I haven't cussed yet, so that's good. But again, it's not like I said, I'm not bad about the changes. I'm more about how everybody has been reacting. And trust me to say the least, I am holding out on cussing everybody out there, and I literally been on my mind this entire time since Esther. We will raise our voices, and give the feedback needed. But some people are just out of line when it comes down to that, really. So we are better than this. We can be better than this. We can be a welcoming community for anybody who wants to play this game, or anybody who wants to join us, or anybody who's in disagreement of things. We can change for the better. We can always be better. And please, we love this game too much to say that we want to go down the path of destruction of this game, because this game can go either way. As soon as the community says something, we can go down a path that we can never return from, or we can continue on until this game flourishes to a better future. So, Again, let's be that welcoming community. Let's not be somebody that's going to shatter it. And now, Chris, you have it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, carrying on from what you were saying, Niantic is a company. A company will have to take risks. A lot of risks aren't going to work. A lot of risks will succeed very, very well. You don't have to everything implemented in the game. A lot of it is accidental. You know, they they fix one problem, they create two more. But
Yeah.
I think as a company, they need to make risks to make the game interesting, keep the game fun. They can't just take the safe route all the time. We're not going to like everything they do. And while I do think that most of the disgruntled people aren't going after people like Liz, you know, adding everybody on Twitter, I think adding Niantic support is usually a good way. But remember, there is a person on the other side, not a robot, a lot of the times. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
And do not, whatever you do not make all of us that are very passionate about the game, by the way, look like we don't want to play the game that we have. You know, there are problems. We can fix the problems. Not not us personally. We can talk with them and they will listen. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow. They will see our concerns and they will fix it. We've seen it time and time again. It might not be rapid, but it will happen. So, you know, if you want to keep playing the game, as much as you might get annoyed by it, if you keep coming back, it's usually because you like the game to a certain capacity, as hard as it is to admit sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just try to voice your concerns without harassing anyone. And, yeah, we should be able to get through this. Keep playing the game. Enjoy your time with Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. So to end things real quickly here, I think we actually voices our opinions and concerns as much as possible. First and foremost, of course, you know, the game will always be there no matter what we do. So maybe there are times that we need to take a break from internet or the game itself because, you know, the game can be a little bit taxing when it comes down to things. Can be a lot of FOMO out there and a lot of things that, you know, people are going to be disagreeing for. So maybe that's the time to say, hey, it's time to step back. Maybe it's the time to take a break, to follow other things. You know, there's definitely going to be, you know, other games out there. There's going to be other things that we are going to be passionate about. Hell, I went out today and for the first time, I actually wanted to play Magic the Gathering with other people in person. Like, I actually went to the store, I looked at some cards, I met a pretty cool guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I do this and that, and we were just like back and forth playing and saying, I didn't even thought about Pokemon Go at all that day. I had my Go Plus with me, but I never even thought about it. Like, it was off at the time, and I was just like, you know, I wanted to just talk about this. I didn't want to actually think about this. And by the time, you know, I left, of course, I opened the game, but, you know, at the same time, I was like, there's definitely more out there than just one game. And even if this is the only game you play, there's definitely other things that you can do if it's not about this game. So if you want to take a break, definitely take a break. That, again, this game, as much as we love to play it every day, and as much as a grindy everyday game, we definitely want to actually do our own lives too, and do other things that we love. So again, take it as a grain of salt. If anybody out there is listening or anything like that, we definitely want you to voice your opinions, voice your concerns. Even if we can't talk to Niantic directly, you know, maybe one day we will. But we definitely want to voice that kind of concerns, and we want to address them as much as possible. So our Twitter handles are always there. I always say it's, you know, at Pure Letter Go for myself, PKMN Trigger PLC for, you know, my friend Chris here. And you can always email us anything at the Purified Podcast at gmail.com. That's all one letter, Purified Podcast at gmail.com. So definitely, it's definitely, like I said, it's been a different episode for you guys, but we definitely want to give out our constructive feedback when it comes down to this game. And we can always change it. We're definitely going to voice our opinions and doing things like that. So I hope that this episode has been an eye-opener for a lot of people, but at the same time, I hope that people are listening not because we want to just like rant about this game. We want to listen and give your opinion out there too. So thank you Thank you so much for anybody who has been out there. This podcast will go live as soon as possible. I'll definitely try to get it out, maybe up by tomorrow morning on a podcast services fee. So again, if you guys want to voice it, just the handles are there. Definitely check us out. We'll definitely come back at the end of this week on Sunday for another podcast episode talking about all the other updates and news that we have had. So look out for that, definitely. And we do have a Discord. If you guys want to join us, there are Discord handles on both the channels, on my Twitter, and definitely on the podcast services feed. So we're more than welcoming community. So let's go out there. Let's be better people out there, guys. So thank you so much, guys. Chris, anything else?
Nah, I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover very, very well.
Definitely. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll definitely see you in the next podcast, and keep purifying them. Have a good night.